Here are 4 things I learned from spending time around a shit ton of money. Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. My name's Fola, and here we talk all things magical practices, occultism, and ways you can start to transmute your shit into gold. And today I wanted to share with you a bit of an experience I've had over the past month of taking time to work and volunteer inside a casino. So if you're familiar with what a casino is, which most likely you are, there is a lot of money, a lot of handling and exchange of energy, which is what money is. It's currency. And there are a lot of different types of people that go to a casino. There are those who, oftentimes it's their first time walking in and they get that lovely beginner's luck. And then there are those who frequent the casino way more regularly, maybe to the point even of overspending and having almost like an unhealthy, addictive relationship with the casino. But for myself, I had this experience of being able to be a cashier at a casino, kind of like a charity night that some of the organizations I'm a part of have been running. And I learned 4 main things, I would say, after spending time in that environment and connecting with people who actually work there full time and people who show up and spend, a lot of their time socializing and engaging in that environment. And I hope to share that with you here today. Of course, if you're new here to the channel, I wanted to say thanks so much for clicking the video, tuning in. And to those of you coming back, it's been great to build connection with you, to hear and witness you as you continue on your evolution. And this really is a place for you to tap into the magic of life, tap into what your magic is and what your truth is. And one way in which I hope to share with you and encourage you is through the simple practice of connecting to the 72 names of God. I have a new book coming out here, and this is being released on Kindle. It's being released in paperback and hard copy of The 72 Names of God, a Magical Grimoire. This is a collection of my personal study and experience. It's a practical guide in which you can start to tap into the energy and the wisdom and understanding that these 72 aspects of God have in store for you. I go into the magical correspondences, the different astrological signs, and the different energies that could be associated or insights to each of these names so that you then can take that information and tap into, meditate upon, and contemplate these aspects of the divine. Definitely invite you to check it out. You can find the link in the description below. So what are the 4 things I learned after spending some time at the casino? Handling, I'm telling you guys, I'm not kidding, like hundreds of thousands of dollars, stacks of paper everywhere. It was very, very different than what I would say I'm used to in this modern age where everything is just simply tapping your card and in electronic transfers. You don't usually see the tangible representation of money anymore. And I'm not sure what that's going to look like in the future. The first thing I witnessed, though, is that there are 2 main types of people, 2 different ways in which we can have relationship with money. And I think it's important that we recognize which of those camps we fall into. I would say for most of my life, I felt almost like over-attached to money. There was this sort of like neediness and grasping energy of it. And I think many of us on this planet tend to have that view. We've kind of been raised to put money on a pedestal, right? Or if you're like me, my life experience was very much money is important, it helps with things, but it's seen as evil or wrong. And so these sort of beliefs can impact us, which we'll get into later, but it's also important to recognize, what is your relationship with money? Are you someone that maybe feels like you have to be really connected to money or have it around, or you're like holding on to it really tightly when it needs to go out to pay a bill or whatever the case might be? These are things to be aware of, because if we're overly attached to anything or anyone, well, what happens? That energy starts to create more repelling. And so that object, in this case money, or that person in a relationship example, starts to go the other direction. Some really great practices to support you with maybe reframing or coming to a better understanding of your relationship with money, or simply writing a love letter to money. Imagine if money was an actual partner or someone that you loved, what would you say? And once you've written it out, reread it to yourself and see what are some of the language, words you've used, phrases you've used, what's the energy that's kind of underlying it. That'll give you a huge perspective of maybe what your relationship is like with money. So if we're overly attached to money, it might start to be repelled and not show up in our life. But if we can come from this place of non-attachment, this place of simply just being open to receiving when and how money wants to show up, just like a partner that loves us, and we also respect and honor it in a way that's balanced and not over giving of our energy, not over focusing, or that I can just feel it. And again, it's, I think, because many of us have been in that place, and it's not a healthy place. The example I would share is that the people I engaged with during my time at that casino, there were kind of like different schools of thoughts about their relationship with money. And there was one particular individual that I really just felt had a deeper understanding about what it means to be financially abundant, but also, most importantly, to experience life. Because, the example I shared even there with people was so there's things that we might want, or sort of experiences that we might feel called to. But what usually happens for people is that they go to the first mindset of, okay, I want XYZ, that means I need this much money, like $50 or $100,000 or whatever the case might be, in order to get XYZ. But really what's I'm learning, and what I think can be the most transformative, is when we start to let go of focusing on the money and instead visualize and draw our attention to that said desire, that experience, whatever it is. Because when we can focus on that, then the universe starts to conspire in all the ways in which that thing can come into manifestation in life. So forget about the money. Forget about the $50 bill or the thing that's over here, and instead the experience. Because I can tell you, just thinking back to that night, we had the most luxurious and abundant relationship building experience, conversation that was enlivening and uplifting for each of us, because we were in this place and ironically surrounded by money, surrounded by currency, energy. So which camp are you in? Do you find yourself being maybe more in the over-attached, attached aspect? Maybe the anxious avoidant kind of place, if we were to look at it from that place of attachment styles of relationship? Or are you feeling more of a secure way of attachment? That place of not needing anything outside of yourself, but trusting that it's always going to be there and show up for you. There's going to be a lot of deep healing that happens when we look at our relationship with money, when we look at our relationships with parents, caregivers, and our traumas from the past that maybe have happened. You'll be able to start to transform things. And if you need support with this, be sure to reach out to me. Maybe a soul alchemy session is in store. Let's talk about some of these things. And you can find the link to that below in the description. So the second thing I learned from being around so much juicy money and stacks of things was this concept that most people say they want something, but when it comes to actually telling you what they want, they have no clue. So I've been guilty of this too, so it's completely okay. This is an important part of manifesting. And we can even take it further into the lens of, when you ask for something that you think you want, you have to be very clear. Not so attached and specific that you need it to happen a particular way, because I can tell you right now that's not how it's going to play out, most likely. That's not how the universe works, right? The universe wants to keep us on our toes in certain ways, I would say. But there's something about us trusting and diving into the things that we want, but having a bit more clarity, having a bit more direction, okay? And so I simply ask people, well, we were talking about money a lot. This was pretty much what the conversations were around the whole evening, because, it was just interesting to witness the different people coming to the counter, their behaviors, their actions, their emotions that were present and sometimes not, sometimes overly present. That's okay. And there was realization, just asking people, well, what is it that your heart desires? What would you do? What would you be? How would you live your life? And it was, just really amazing to me to hear that some people had very vague responses. There wasn't a clear direction for the universe then to take a step to support that desire. And I think it's important we get clear on that. And some ways you can do this is just simply journaling. What is it that is the deepest desire of my heart? And just see what words come up. Oftentimes, this isn't going to be something, that is tangible, something that money buys. Again, this is oftentimes about experience. It's about relationships. It's about love. It's about living life to the fullest. And if you know anything about like human psychology, this is why advertisements and things, marketing is such a big thing, because they know they can play with our brain. I say they, but like everything, even you clicking on this video, right? And whether we want to call it clickbait, you clicked on something because there's a part of you, right, that's kind of craving or desiring that, whether it's knowledge or experience or an actual physical object. It's really important that we recognize where we're coming from, what it is we're looking for, and how we can get more clear on what that thing is that we actually desire, so that we're not just fulfilling the next dopamine hit, that like kind of addictive way of, people over shopping or doing all sorts of things that might really create more damage than good in their life. But to me personally, I feel like getting clear on your intention, getting clear on your desires, journaling about them, being willing to let go of some of the ones that you thought you had and shifting direction, like this is all part of the human experience. So have a little bit of grace with yourself on this practice. And so, some people shared they had like kind of really big dreams for themselves, but they weren't sure how to get there. I think by starting small, holding that like big vision in your mind, and then just asking yourself in meditation, while you journal, or whatever your like spiritual practice is. You could go for a walk and set the intention that, hey, when I come out of this nature walk, I'll have another like level of insight or understanding around my question, and just put it out there. And the universe will start to show you through synchronicities, through signs, through messages. Something will show up in your email and you'll just know, oh, there's that thing. Maybe this is the next step towards that big goal, that big vision. Okay? And just trust that really it's not about, again, the money. It's not about this like tangible thing. It's about the experience, because I can tell you how many times I've had it where I thought I wanted something. It was a very tangible goal, but when I got to that like destination, it was just kind of felt like for a very brief period, the happy excitement, and then that just vanished. And then I was looking for the next thing. And so it's like we have to be, again, in this non-attachment to our reality, into a balanced place of just accepting what is, but trust that we also get to play in this playground that is the world. And as a creator, as you are, a manifester, you get to bring forth things into this reality. So see what it is that you want, what your desires are, and trust that process as you gain more clarity around it. Another important thing that I'd say is kind of also tied to the fourth thing is the way our thoughts are being processed and the things that we believe, the stories we tell ourselves around money. And so kind of like to branch with these sort of 2, 3, and 4, or like the third and fourth kind of learning I had, is that your thoughts create your reality. Okay, so your thoughts are a form of energy movement. If you look in your brain, like there's like the neurotransmitters connecting and firing shots of electricity. Okay, money is the same. Money is a form of energy. Currency. I love how everything we say about money is literally what we talked about in terms of water, in terms of electricity, in terms of flow, right? And so when we can recognize that money is just an energy, being around physical stacks of money, like thousands upon thousands or whatever of money, like dollars of money, made me realize how detached we are from money. And yet that's almost like a blessing. Because if I think about it, right now I might have a number in my head of what's in my bank account, but I might not actually see it. Like it's not really there. It's just a representation through a number. And so there's something here about tapping into the recognition that money is an energy. How are you in receptivity of that energy? Okay. Sometimes if this is a huge part of my learning is I might not want to receive. And so we close off the walls, put up walls, close off to the source of that energy of love, of support from the universe, from God. And from others too, because oftentimes God does want to support us through other people, right? And we might have our judgments. We might get like into the ego mind of like, oh, I shouldn't receive that from them. I need to do it on my own, be independent, like all these stories, right? But it's like, what if you can just allow yourself to be in the flow of money, the flow of that abundance, the flow of energy that the universe wants to gift to you? And this kind of ties then into the next step, the next thing, the insight I had around being in this vicinity of so much like physical cash money and people giving and receiving it and doing all sorts of things with it, losing it, winning it, however we want to identify it. And this is how our beliefs, how our thoughts, our stories we've created actually impact how we're receiving or not receiving, how we're giving or not giving. And this requires a lot of deep inner contemplation and reflection on what your life story has been around money, around abundance, finances, about being supported, about your self-worth, about shame, and like all sorts of things. And this can be like one of the more difficult pieces. And if you've come from like a very religious background, you know, there's certain like beliefs that are still, I know, I catch myself filtering them. You know, like, oh, money is evil or wrong, or people who have a bunch of money probably did something bad or wrong, or all these sorts of like stories that I heard time and time again from other people. And we oftentimes, we don't even know that we are believing something or not until we start to, I guess, start or explore the spiritual path. And to me, ritual, going through this whole like alchemical process, intending to create the shifts in our awareness, in our consciousness, those are ways in which we can start to move the energy and start to build new neural pathways, thus building new beliefs, new stories, new thoughts. So it's going to be like a lifelong process, but that's okay, right? We're here for the long haul. I'm going to have a whole life to do it. There's no perfected destination that you need to get to. But what's important is that you're willing to look at your thoughts, being willing to open up the stories and explore the ones that are really calling to you at any given moment, and to receive the guidance and support from those around you, those people that you trust. I think that's also important because, you know, a lot of the things I've learned about myself aren't because I just did it myself. It's because of interactions with others, with relationship building, with seeing and witnessing the reflection of another person's life as part of my own experience too. We are in this collective human experience together. So just trust that wherever you're at with your money story, wherever you're at with your finances, stepping into these kind of areas, doing the practices I shared, maybe there's something that wants to start to move for you. So I'm going to leave it at that. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments your thoughts, anything that might be stirred up from this conversation. And feel free to share it with someone that you think might benefit from hearing these words. And until the next time, you guys, I'll see you in another video.